Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for joining me today on another episode of Cartels Unearthed. I really appreciate the patience. I'm so sorry. I know I've been slacking. I haven't made any videos in a while. A lot of you guys have asked, commented. I've seen it. I'm sorry. I've just been very busy. I haven't had a chance to come to the studio and film. Haven't had a chance to even do research really much. I mean, I've had some topics that I'm sitting on that I could easily do real quick, but between busy work projects and the World Cup, which I was very busy rooting for Colombia until we lost, and so no comment on that. So now that I have no TV, no World Cup to watch, so I have all the time in the world to make some new videos and share some new information. So let's get right into it. Now, I'm sure you guys saw the caption and thought in your minds, what the hell? Fabio Ochoa and Al-Qaeda. What does that make any sense? That's insane. Now, this is a conspiracy theory. It is pretty much something that came from hearsay, which means it's just something that someone had stated. There was no proof to it. There was no backing. It was someone who went on record, on a federal record, and stated this. Now, this story has been around since 2003 in federal records, and then it was published by the Associated Press, which ran it, and then the Miami Herald, the newspaper, the Miami Herald, picked it up in February of 2009. Now, I have the link for the article. When you click on it, it takes you to the Miami Herald website, but the actual story has been pulled, so it says it's not found. So it's quite interesting. I think they pretty much pulled it because they realized just how stupid and how much no sense this story makes. But I'm going to share it with you guys because it does involve Fabio Ochoa, and it is in a federal record. It is part of a testimony from federal record, so it does exist. There's just no truth to it. The government even acknowledges no truth to it. So, a little backstory then real quick. So Fabio Ochoa, we all know who he is. He was one of the founders of the Medellin Cartel with Pablo Escobar. He's one of my cousins. He's serving a 30-year sentence here in the United States since 2003. So he was arrested during Operation Millennium. It was a joint operation between American and Colombian authorities. They arrested like 30 or 40 drug traffickers. Fabio Ochoa was part of these people, though there was no evidence to suggest that he was actually in the business anymore. Remember, this is 1999. He had already served his time in Colombia for what he had done with the Medellin Cartel. So this is after. In the investigations, it was said that there was no proof. They really didn't have much proof against Fabio, but because he is such a high-profile person in the drug trafficking world, him being there was automatically assumed that he was back in the business. Now, it didn't help that the other people that were arrested also pretty much threw Fabio Ochoa under the bus in an effort to get better plea deals. So they pretty much went to the authorities and said, we'll give you information and give us a better deal so they can get a lighter sentence in prison. Now, one of these particular gentlemen were Alejandro Bernal. He was a pretty prominent drug trafficker in Colombia in the 90s, and he was captured in the same operation. Now, he was the one who went on federal record and said Fabio Ochoa gave $2 million to Al-Qaeda to help finance the 9/11 attacks. Now, why was he saying these things? He was pretty much saying this, like I said, to build up his case against Fabio so that he can get a lighter prison sentence. And so he was trying to really just build up the case against Fabio Ochoa. In his statements, he also stated that in the Colombian prison that they were being held at before they were extradited, Fabio Ochoa had said that something big was going to happen that would stop the extradition processes. He stated that Fabio's wife had traveled to Spain with $2 million in cash to get the money to the Middle East mercenaries that were willing to carry out the attack. So it really is. It's just a crazy story. He said that Ochoa and the FARC, which is one of the right-wing revolutionary groups in Colombia, they had pulled their resources and contacted the Middle East mercenaries. And these were the mercenaries that Fabio's wife flew to Spain to meet to get the $2 million to. It really is just a crazy story. I mean, it's so stupid. The fact that this guy went that far to really just make his case against Fabio, so that the entire case surrounding Operation Millennium was just focused on Fabio Ochoa, and everyone else could get a lighter sentence. The particular theory of the whole Fabio Ochoa helping 9/11 attackers is so stupid in the sense that it didn't really help his case. So he did throw Fabio Ochoa under the bus, just like everybody else who was caught in this operation, and it did help them with information about drug-related incidents. But as far as him throwing Fabio under the bus with this claim that he gave $2 million to Al-Qaeda, that didn't help his case in any form or way. According to the DEA in 2002, they said that both the DEA and the government were well aware of the allegations, but they found no evidence to support it. So the DEA, the government, they all were aware that he was saying this stuff on record, but it seems they did in fact look into it, and they found no evidence to support it. Even the 9/11 Commission final report book, I don't know if anyone's seen the 9/11 Commission's book. I did read it way back when, and nowhere in that book does it mention Colombia, does it mention Ochoa, does it mention anything with anyone from Colombia. So clearly he was just using this to his advantage because it happened very close to 9/11. It was very. This is why he came up with the story. Fabio and Alejandro Bernal were extradited to the United States in September of 2001. So Fabio, for example, was extradited to the United States September 7th, 2001, 4 days before 9/11. So he used this whole ploy as it's his advantage because Fabio just arrived in the United States 4 days earlier, and now 4 days later, 9/11 happened, and Bernal stated that Fabio had said in prison in Colombia that the only way they were going to get out of this was using terrorism the way Pablo had done with the Medellin cartel back in the 80s and 90s. So he really just used the fact that Fabio was extradited a few days before 9/11, and then 9/11 happened, and Fabio has a history of working with terrorism in the sense of with the Medellin cartel. So he just used this whole story. He made up this whole story to help his case. Long story short, we all know that Fabio is still in prison. He's in there until like 2032, if I'm not mistaken. And Alejandro Bernal did get his sentence reduced significantly. Originally, he went in for 21 years, if I'm not mistaken. He then went in for 11 years. And then eventually he was released, though. He didn't serve all the time that he was supposed to serve. He was released, if I'm not mistaken, in 2009. So he barely did a decade. Funny story. Well, I mean, this happens to anyone in the business. He was assassinated. He was murdered in 2012 in Colombia. So, no comment on that. That's a whole other story. But it's just crazy to think that someone would think that they could get away with saying a ex-drug trafficker from Colombia contributed to the 9/11 attacks with Al-Qaeda. It's just insane. It just shows how far someone was willing to go to save their ass and not go to jail. So here you have this drug trafficker who's probably walking around Colombia thinking he's big guy, big tough guy, and then he's afraid of going to prison, so he's saying whatever he can say to avoid going to prison for all the time that they expected him to go. And it worked in a sense. Not the 9/11 ploy, but it did work that he threw Fabio Ochoa under the bus. he barely served a decade. He went in 2003, he got in 2009. What is that, 6 years? Fabio's still in prison. So, goes to show you. So, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. Do you guys believe it? Do you guys think it's crazy? Do you guys think he was just desperate? I really would love to hear what you guys think. Fabio Ochoa helped Al-Qaeda with $2 million to finance the 9/11 attack. What do you guys think? Comment below. Let me know on my YouTube or on my Instagram about this crazy conspiracy theory. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for being patient again, guys. And stay tuned. I got more coming. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much.